Very good morning to all of my friends. Welcome back. So, I hope you guys were able to solve the questions of service costing. In the previous two sessions, we discussed service costing and we discussed the few questions on transportation industry, hotel industry, hospital industry, few more questions on collection of, the toll collection agencies. So I hope you guys are thorough with what I have discussed in the previous two sessions. And further, I hope you guys have solved all the questions. So if you guys have any doubts or queries relating to service costing, you guys can write a mail to ICAI. I'll personally address each and every query of yours. So now, let's start with the next chapter. Again, the most important chapter of the syllabus, that is standard costing. When talking about the weightage of this chapter, the weight is approx 8 to 10 marks. And in every attempt, you will find a question on standard costing. Even in practical life also, this chapter is very important. And most of the students find difficulty in this chapter because there are so many formulas in this chapter. So, it's very difficult for them to memorize the formulas and apply these formulas. So there are two sessions allocated for standard costing, and I'll be discussing more the concepts of standard costing rather than the practical question. Yes, I'll be discussing few practical questions. Further, I'll be discussing the concept that how come these formulas are derived, why these formulas. ये जो formulas book में दिए हैं या study material में दिए हैं, ये formulas बने कैसे? What are the logic behind these formulas? That also I'll be discussing throughout these two sessions. I'll be discussing few practical questions. Very important, guys. If you are thorough with the concepts of standard costing, trust me, you guys will be able to solve any question. कोई भी question आप आसानी से solve कर पाएंगे if you are thorough with the concept that how these formulas are derived. So do pay attention. Whatever the queries you have, you guys can post your queries. I'll address each and every query of yours. So let's start with this chapter, standard costing. Good morning, Swati. Good morning, Om Krishna Gupta. Miss Akshara Akanksha Sharma, you can see these live sessions over YouTube also. Further, you can check it over portal or else you can join the Zoom meeting. So let's start with this chapter, standard costing. There is an alternate name of standard costing. We call it as variance analysis. Now, how it works, what's the logic? Don't worry, Shoaib, by the end of these two sessions, you will be thorough with the concepts of standard costing. Don't worry, Shoaib. So let's start. Now see, every company do set up benchmark targets or standards at the beginning of the year. And at the end of the year, when the actual results are out, they do compare these targets or standards set with the actual results. अब जो टारगेट सेट किए और एक्चुअल रिजल्ट्स आए उसमें कुछ ना कुछ तो डेविएशन आएगा ही. So these deviations are known as variances. So the difference between the target set and the actual result is what we call as variances. So the standard costing technique help us to first calculate the variances, and second thing, what are the reason behind these variances? What all persons are responsible for these deviations? That also standard costing technique help us to figure out. Let me discuss this with the help of an example. Let's say I have set up a target of 10,000 units that I'll be manufacturing 10,000 units using 20,000 kgs of raw material. I've set up a target that I'll be manufacturing 10,000 units using 20,000 kgs of raw material. However, when the actual figures were out, to manufacture these 10,000 units, we actually consume 22,000 kgs of raw material. हम लोगों ने टारगेट सेट किया था कि for 10,000 units we'll be using 20,000 kgs of raw material. However, to manufacture these 10,000 units, we actually consume 22,000 kgs of raw material. So 2,000 kgs extra we use. So it's not a good sign for the company because जो काम 20,000 kgs में हो जाना चाहिए था, we actually consume 22,000 kgs. So 2,000 kgs extra we consume. So we call it as adverse for the company. Let's take another example. Let's say I thought that these 10,000 units will be manufactured using 12,000 hours. But when the actual results were out, these 10,000 units were manufactured in only 11,500 hours. It means my workers did a great job and they completed the task in 11,500 hours. So it means we can say it is a 500 hours efficiency. So it's a good sign for the company. So we can call it as favorable for the company. Another example, let's say these 10,000 units, the company has set up a target that these 10,000 units will be manufactured with an overall overheads of 5 lakh rupees. However, when talking about the actual data, the actual overheads were only 4,80,000. Again, we saved 20,000 rupees. So we can say it's a good sign for the company. So we will call it as favorable for the company. So in short, in standard costing, we have to first find out that how much are the variances and whether they are favorable for the company or adverse for the company. Further, this chapter, standard costing or variance analysis, has nothing to do with cost calculation. See, in process costing, we do calculate the cost per unit after completing all the process. In service costing, we calculated the cost per unit of service. In cost sheet, we calculated the total cost of a product. But when talking about standard costing, it has nothing to do with cost calculation. Further, this chapter is not a part of cost accounting. It's a part of management accounting and it assists management in decision making. इस चैप्टर का कॉस्ट कैलकुलेशन से कोई भी लेना देना नहीं है. This is a part of management accounting and it assists management in decision making. It's an important tool that is used by the management for decision making. So it's not a part of cost accounting, it's a part of management accounting and it assists management in decision making. So in short, what is standard costing? We call it as variance analysis. It's not a part of cost accounting. It's a part of management accounting and it assists management in decision making. Further, in standard costing, we'll be first calculating the variances and further, what are the reason behind these variances? That also standard costing technique help us to figure out. Now let's take a very basic situation. Let's take a very basic situation. I'm the owner of a company. I'm the owner of the company. And at the end of the day, I'm concerned about what? Profit. So accordingly, I set up a target that at least I want to earn a profit of rupees 5 lakh. Based on my past data, my the future market prospects. So I targeted a profit of rupees 5 lakh. And accordingly, I provided enough of resources being man, machinery, material to my employees. But when the actual figures were out, my actual profit was only 3 lakh rupees. But when the actual figures were out, my actual profit was only 3 lakh rupees. That is 2 lakh less than what I expected. Even though I provided enough of resources, be it man, machinery, material, to earn a profit of 5 lakh. But when the actual figures were out, my profit was only 3 lakh rupees. That is 2 lakh less than what we expected. We call it as adverse for the company. Now, I have to figure out that what were the reasons behind this loss of 2 lakh. ये जो 2 lakh profit कम हुआ इसके reasons क्या? What all are the person responsible for this loss of 2 lakh? So when talking about profit, how come this profit is derived? How do we calculate profit? Sales minus cost. This is the way we call it. We calculate profit. So if there is any change in sales or change in cost, then only the profit will change. So this loss of 2 lakh, it can be either due to, when talking about this loss of 2 lakh, it can be either due to change in sales or it can be due to change in cost. I repeat again, when talking about profit, two factors are responsible for profit, that is sales and cost. So if we subtract cost from sales, we get the profit. So if there is any change in sales, the profit will change. If there is change in cost, yes, the profit will change. So these are the two factors responsible for this loss of 2 lakh. Further, when talking about the cost, it can be further classified in three parts. There are three major elements of the cost. That is, there is some problem with the material department, or there might be some problem with the labor department, or there might be some problems in the overheads department. Further, overheads can also be classified in two parts, that is fixed and variable. So ultimately, these are the various departments associated with this loss of 2 lakh. So either the sales department or the material management department or the labor management department or the fixed overhead management department or the variable overhead management department. These are the department responsible for this loss of 2 lakh. So what we will do is, in standard costing, we'll be investigating each and every department one by one. हम लोग हर डिपार्टमेंट में जाएंगे और उसको डिटेल इन्वेस्टिगेट करेंगे to figure out that what all persons or which department is responsible for this loss of 2 lakh. So this is all what we'll be doing in this standard costing. That is, we'll be investigating each and every department one by one, be it material department, be it labor department, be it fixed overhead, be it variable overhead. And after detailed investigation, we'll prepare a report that what all factors are responsible for this loss of 2 lakh. From examination point of view, this part is not covered in the syllabus, so we'll be investigating only material, labor, fixed overhead, and variable overhead department. If you guys have any doubts or queries, you guys can please post your queries. Further, I request you guys to please copy this explanation. So let's start with the investigation of material department. Let's start with the investigation of material department. So now, when talking about material department, let's say I have a company and I have set up a target that to manufacture a product will be using two types of raw material, X and Y. Further, when talking about the quantity, let's say 60 kgs of X will be used and 40 kgs of Y will be used. My total inputs will be 100. Let's say the normal loss is 20% of inputs, and accordingly we'll get the final output, that is 80 units. Further, the company has also given the target that we have to purchase X at the rate 5 and Y at the rate 4. These are the targets that are set by the management. These are the targets that are set by the management, wherein we'll be using two types of raw material to manufacture a product, wherein X will be 60, Y will be 40, total input will be 100, 20% will be the normal loss and 80 will be my output. So the company has given a target that for manufacturing every 80 units, X will be used as 60, Y will be used as 40, input will be 100, 20% will be the loss and 80 will be my output. Company ऐसा नहीं बोल रही है कि you have to manufacture 80 units. The company has given the data for every 80 units of output. The company is not setting up the target that you have to manufacture only 80 units. The company has given the data for every 80 units, that is two raw material will be used, X will be 60, Y will be 40, input will be 100, 20 will be the loss and 80 will be my output. So this data is given for every 80 units. Now, when the actual data was out, when the actual figures were out, $700 kgs of X was used, 300 kgs of Y was used. The total input was 1000. 300 was my normal loss and 700 was my output. Further, X was purchased at the rate 4 and Y was purchased at the rate 5. So my total cost for X was 2800 and for Y it was 1500. So total cost was 4300. So this is the actual data. Now, we have to investigate that whether the things went good or bad. Now, my point is very simple, guys. First thing, are these two figures comparable? Are these two figures comparable? Yes or no? कि भाई हम लोग क्या, can we say that so we were supposed to use 60 and we actually used 700? We were supposed to use 40 kgs, but we actually used 300. Can we say like this? Yes or no? Waiting for your answers. Good, Swati. Yes, Shoaib. Yes, Akanksha Sharma. Waiting for your answer. Those who are over portal, please be interactive in the class. You'll find it better. So, as most of the students mentioned, that these two figures are not comparable. Why? Because see, herein we are using 60 kgs of X, but we are getting an output of only 80 units. Herein we are using 700 kgs of X and we are getting an output of 700 units. Herein these two figures are not comparable because ये जो data है, this is for 80 units of output and this data is for 700 units of output. So these two figures are not comparable. Let's take a very basic situation. Let's say the company has given a budget or target that will require 2 meters to manufacture one shirt. The company has given a target that we will require 2 meters to manufacture a shirt. This was the budget given by the company. And actually, 5,000 shirts were manufactured using 11,000 meters. 5,000 shirts were manufactured using 11,000 meters. So my point, are these two figures comparable? Can we say that company ne bola tha we have to use 2 meters and we have consumed actually 11,000 meters? No, we can't say, because 2 meters is for every shirt, one shirt, and 11,000 meters we used for 5,000 shirts. So can we say that, can we calculate the difference ki kitna loss hua? Yes, we can calculate. So herein, this data is given for one shirt. That is, for one shirt, we'll be using 2 meters. So actually for 5,000 shirts, we should have used only 10,000 meters. For manufacturing 5,000 shirts, we should have used 10,000 meters. But actually we used 11,000 meters. How much meters extra? 1,000 meters extra. So my point, are these two figures comparable? No, because budgeted data one shirt ka hai aur actual data 5,000 shirts ka hai. So what we will do is, for 5,000 shirts, how much quantity we were supposed to use? For one shirt, 2 meters. So for 5,000 shirts, how many meters? 10,000 meters. But actually we consumed 11,000 meters. So 1,000 meters extra we consumed. So we can say it is a loss to the company. So herein, in this case also, 60 kgs for 80 output. So for 700 output, how much kgs we were supposed to use? Can you please post your answers? For 60 kgs, we are using for 80 units of output. So for 700 units of output, how much quantity we were supposed to use? So Shoaib, it is 520, 525. Om Krishna Gupta, 875. Kiran Bala, 933. Swati, 525. Yes, anyone else with your answers? Om Krishna Gupta, 525. Yes, Akshara, waiting for your answer. Yes, Akanksha Sharma. So see, the simple cross multiplication rule that one shirt, 2 and 2 meters. So for 5,000 shirts, 10,000 meters. We'll apply the same concept here also. $60 kgs for 80 units of output. So for 700 units of output, how much? 525. For similarly for Y, 40 kgs for 80 units of output. So for 700 kgs of output, how much? So in short, these two figures are not comparable. Why? Because their output is different. So herein we have to prepare the revised standard. Since these two figures are not comparable, so we have to make them comparable to calculate the variances. So herein we will prepare revised standard. That is quantity, price, and amount. So for manufacturing these 700 units of output, we should have used 525 kgs of X at the rate 5. So yes, 700 units banane ke liye, we were supposed to use 525 kgs of X and they were supposed to be purchased at 5. Further, when talking about Y, for these 700 units of final product, we should have used 350 kgs of Y at the rate 4. So the total cost should be 1400 and 2625. Now see guys, very important. If the budgeted output and actual output are same, no need to prepare revised standard. If my budgeted output and actual output are same, is there any need to prepare revised standard? No. So this revised standard is to be prepared only when the budgeted output and actual output are different. So herein, for manufacturing these 700 units, actually हमें क्या करना था? What we were supposed to do? X 525 kgs at the rate 5, further Y 350 at the rate 4. But actually what we did, we used 700 kgs of X at the rate 4 and 300 kgs of Y at the rate 5. So our cost was supposed to be 4025. So for manufacturing these 700 units, we were supposed to incur only 4025 rupees. But we actually incurred 4,300 rupees. It means 275 extra we spent in material. So this 275 extra we spent is what we call as material cost variance. So herein, the first variance will calculate is material cost variance. The first variance what we will calculate is material cost variance. What it says that 700 units of output बनाने के लिए हमें कितना खर्च करना चाहिए था? How much we were supposed to spend? 4,025. So the material cost should not be more than 4,025, 4025. But we actually incurred 4,300. That is 275 extra we spent, and it is extra we spent. हमारा cost 2,075 लगना चाहिए था. We actually spent 4,025 लगना चाहिए था. We actually spent 4,300. So 275 extra we incurred. So we can call it as adverse for the company. If you guys have any doubts in this part, you guys can please post your queries. Alternatively, we can say for X, 525 kgs were supposed to be used at the rate 5. However, we used 700 kgs at the rate 4. Similarly, for Y also, we were supposed to use 350 kgs at the rate 4, but we actually used 300 kgs only at the rate 5. So this will be 175 adverse and this will be 100 adverse. So the total will be 275 adverse. So when talking about the material cost variance, it says the overall difference in cost. कि total cost में difference कितना आया? That is, for 700 units, my cost should be not more than 4,025. But to manufacture these 700 units, my actual cost was 4,300. So it means 275 extra we incurred. So we call it as adverse for the company. So if you guys have any doubts or queries, you guys can please post your queries. Waiting for your queries, guys. Adverse means that we have incurred extra. मतलब ये कंपनी के लिए प्रॉब्लम है. I mean, it is not a good sign for the company because जहां पे हमारा कॉस्ट 4025 होना चाहिए था उसकी जगह हम लोगों ने एक्स्ट्रा कॉस्ट लगाया. That is 4,300. 275 extra cost we incurred. So it's not a good sign for the company. So we will denote it as adverse. So if the cost is less, if the actual cost is less than expected cost, we can say it is a good sign for the company. So we call it as favorable. Anyone else having any doubts? Yes, Kavita, Swati, Kiran, Hariom, Om Krishna Gupta, Akshara, Shoaib. Now see, now we have got the picture that there is a loss of 275 in the material department. Now, why this loss? What are the factors? What are the reasons behind these loss? So, first and the foremost thing, this difference is first. This difference is due to either change in quantity or change in price. See, herein two factors are responsible to calculate this loss of 275. That is quantity and price, because see, quantity into price minus quantity into price. So, there must be either change in quantity, it can be due to change in quantity, or it can be due to change in price. So, two factors are responsible, either due to change in price or due to change in quantity. When talking about the price, the purchase manager is responsible to purchase the product at a competitive price. When talking about the change in quantity or usage, the production manager is responsible. So let's start with change in price. As I said, it's the duty of the purchase manager to purchase at a competitive price. So herein, when talking about the change in price, see, when talking about the change in price, let's start with X. So the purchase manager has been given a responsibility that you have to purchase X at the rate 5. So the company has set up a target that the X should be purchased at the rate 5 rupees, because it is the target or the budget given by the company, wherein it is given clearly that X should be purchased at the rate 5. But actually X was purchased at the rate 4 rupees only. When talking about the actual data, X was purchased at the rate rupees 4 only. So at least we saved 1 rupees per unit. Now, the point is we have to multiply it by quantity to calculate the overall change due to change in price. Now, see, very important, guys, when talking about the purchase part, see, then this talking about this price factor, purchase manager is responsible. Now, purchase manager is not at all concerned about how much quantity was supposed to be used and how much quantity was actually used. He is just going to consider the price element. कितना quantity use होना चाहिए था, कितना quantity use हुआ, he is not at all concerned about. He is just concerned about his price. And further, how much quantity he actually purchased. So when talking about how much quantity he actually purchased, 700 kgs. Ab, actually, instead of 700, 525 or we were supposed to use, ये उसका concern ही नहीं है. Purchase manager is not at all concerned about how much quantity the production manager is going to use. Purchase manager was instructed that you have to purchase so and so quantity, so he purchased so and so quantity. And how much quantity actually the purchase manager has purchased? 700. Again, I repeat, of this 700, there is a wastage or there is a scrap or whatever it is, or there is a fault in production process that purchase manager is not at all concerned about. He was instructed that you have to purchase 700 units, and accordingly he purchased 700 units. तभी तो ये 700 units actually consume हुए. How come these 700 kgs was used? ये 700 kgs use कैसे हुआ होगा? When actually the purchase manager purchased these 700 kgs, then only the production manager was supposed to use. So very important, guys, purchase manager is not at all concerned about क्या quantity use होना चाहिए था, क्या quantity use हुआ. He is concerned about only the price. That I was supposed to purchase X at the rate 5, but I actually purchased at the rate 4. And my performance will be evaluated on the basis of the actual quantity purchased by me. And the actual quantity purchased by the purchase manager is how much? 700 kg. Similarly, for Y also, Y was supposed to be purchased at the rate 4, but it was actually purchased at the rate 5. And the quantity that is actually purchased is 300. So herein, he saved 700, that is 5. We were supposed to purchase X at the rate 5, but we actually purchased at the rate 4. So 1 rupees is saved into 700 units. So it means it's a good sign for the company. So we call it as favorable. Further, for Y, we were supposed to purchase Y at the rate 4, but we actually purchased at the rate 5. So there is a loss of 1 rupees on 300 units. So this will be 300 adverse. So still the overall profit that is made by the purchase manager is 400. So herein, when talking about the change in price, the purchase manager is responsible. And further, purchase manager is not at all concerned about kitna use hona chahiye tha, kitna use hua. He is concerned about the price he paid, that is how much price we were supposed to purchase, and the actual purchase price into the quantity that is actually purchased by the purchase manager. So here, this difference, this 400 talks about what? The change, the difference, the difference in purchase price. So we call it as material price variance. So when talking about the work done by the purchase manager, we can evaluate the work of the purchase manager by calculating the material price variance. So when talking about the price variance, it talks about the difference in price. If you guys have any doubts in this part, you guys can please post your queries. Giving you 2 minutes time to post your queries. Again, don't try to memorize the formula. Just try to understand what I'm saying. That is, first thing, when talking about the cost variance, kitna cost lagna chahiye tha, kitna cost laga. How much cost we were supposed to incur and how much is the actual cost. So here is very simple. For 700 units, we were supposed to incur 4,025. But for these 700 units, the amount actually spent is 4,300. That is 275 extra. Alternatively, 525 kgs were supposed to be used at the rate 5, but we actually used 700 kgs at the rate 4. Similarly, for Y, 350 kgs were supposed to be purchased at the rate 4, but we actually used 300 kgs at the rate 5. So overall, there is a loss of 275. When talking about this loss, it can be either due to change in quantity or change in price. So let's start with price. When talking about the change in price, we calculate material price variance, and further, it represents the work done by the purchase manager. When talking about the purchase manager, he is concerned about price. That is, kya price mein kharidna chahiye tha, kya price mein kharida. So we were supposed to purchase X at the rate 5, but we actually purchased at the rate 4. And how much quantity was supposed to use, that is not at all the job of purchase manager. He was simply instructed to purchase 700 kgs, and he purchased 700 kgs. Then only the company actually used 700 kgs. So the work done by the purchase manager is how much, that is he has actually purchased 700 kgs. And similarly for Y, he purchased 300 kgs. So if you guys have any doubts, you guys can please post your queries. Shoaib, please pay attention what I'm discussing and what I'm teaching. Trust me, you will be able to solve every question of study material. Don't worry. Yes, anyone having any doubts or queries? The duty of the purchase manager is to purchase the raw material at competitive price. And further, his work or performance will be evaluated on the basis of quantity actually purchased. अगर actually 700 kgs purchase हुआ होगा तभी तो वो actually 700 use हुआ होगा. So he was simply instructed to purchase 700 kgs and he actually purchased 700 kgs. Now उसमें से कितना यूज होना चाहिए था, कितना यूज हुआ, दिस इज नॉट द जॉब ऑफ परचेज मैनेजर, बट इट्स द जॉब ऑफ द प्रोडक्शन मैनेजर. Yes, Srinivas. I can't discuss the questions of September 24 exams. I'm sorry, Kiran. Till the time the results are out and the suggested answers are out, I can't discuss these questions. Anyone else having any doubts in this part? Yes, Kiran, Srinivas, Om Krishna Gupta, Swati, Akshara, Kavita, Shoaib, anyone having any doubts? Now, let's evaluate the work done by the production manager. Again, when talking about the production manager, they talks about the quantity or usage. How much raw material we were supposed to use and how much raw material we actually used. So herein, when talking about the production manager, they talks about the difference in usage, that is kitni quantity. See, price part we have already considered. Now usage part. So herein we'll be calculating material usage variance. How much quantity we were supposed to use and how much quantity we actually used. So when talking about X, we were supposed to use 525 kgs, but we actually used 700 kgs. Similarly for Y, we were supposed to use 350 kgs, but we actually used 300 kgs. Now again, we have to explain these variance in monetary terms. So herein, we have to multiply it with by price. Now herein, as I said, purchase manager is concerned about what? That he has to purchase the product at competitive price. कितना quantity उसमें से use होना चाहिए था, कितना use हुआ, he is not at all concerned. So similarly, production manager is not at all concerned about the work done by the purchase manager. And when talking about the work done by the purchase manager, they talks about the actual price. कि purchase manager ने actual price में, what was the actual price, purchase price, the production manager is not at all concerned. He is just concerned about the price that is set by the management, that is 5 and 4. जैसे परचेज मैनेजर को प्रोडक्शन मैनेजर के काम से कोई लेना देना नहीं है, सिमिलरली production manager is also not at all concerned about the work done by the purchase manager. And when talking about the work actually done by the purchase manager, they are talking about the actual purchase price. So herein, why we are not taking 4 and 5, I hope this part is clear, because this actual price represents the work done by the purchase manager. And their performance will be evaluated on the basis of standard price, not on the basis of the work done by the purchase manager. So herein, this will be 875 extra, that is 875 adverse. This will be 200 favorable. So this is how we'll get 675 adverse. So again, Why I have multiplied with 5 and 4? Very important, guys, because 4 and 5 represents the work done by the purchase manager. So their performance will not be evaluated or affected because of the work done by the purchase manager. So that's why we are taking the price 5 and 4. If you guys have any doubts in material usage variance, you guys can please post your queries. Usage variance says how much quantity we were supposed to use and how much quantity we actually used. So the quantity we were supposed to use was 525 and 350 for manufacturing 700 units. But for these 700 units, the quantity actually used was 700 and 300 into the standard price. Why? Because if we are taking the actual price, we are giving the impact of the work done by the purchase manager also. And that is not correct. So that's why we are taking the standard price. Now, this is all what about usage variance. Now, there is an overall difference in usage. Further, as I said, that these are the two factors responsible for this cost variance, that is either due to change in price or due to change in usage. So if we make the total, see 400 favorable and 675 adverse, we will get 275 adverse. So we can say material price plus usage is material cost variance. See here it is 400 favorable and here it is 675 adverse. So we can say net loss of 275 adverse is what my material cost variance. So we can say material price variance plus usage variance is what? My cost variance. Again, we have got the difference in overall usage, but again, the usage may vary because of two reasons. First thing is due to change in mix and due to change in overall quantity. The overall difference in usage can be due to two reasons. First, due to change in mix. It represents the work done by the engineer. And it represents the work done by the production supervisor. So when talking about mix, we'll be calculating material mix variance because it represents the change in mix. So we'll be calculating material mix variance. So now when talking about the change in mix, so when talking about the change in mix, so the company instructed the engineer that whatever the raw material total you are using, it should be in the ratio of 60:40. कंपनी ने टारगेट सेट करके दिया था कि if X we are using 60, Y should be 40 only. So it means the ratio should be 6:4 or we can say 3:2. So जो भी quantity आप use करते हो, it should be in the ratio of 60:40. So it means when we have used this 1000 kgs, actually it should be the ratio of 60:40. I repeat again, when we actually use 1000 kgs, it should be in the ratio of 60:40. So it should be 600 and 400. But when talking about my actual mix, it was 70:30, that is 700 and 300. Again, material mix variance, what it says, due to change in mix. That ये जो 1000 units हमने actual input किया, it should be in the ratio of 60:40, that is 600:400. But the actual mix for these 1000 units kgs was what? 700 and 300, that is 70:30. Again, they are talking only about the usage. So herein the standard price will only be considered, not the actual price, because again, these are the various branches of the production manager or production department. So actual price will be ignored. We'll be taking only the standard price, that is 5 and 4. So 600 minus 700 into 5. So this will be 500 adverse and this will be 400 favorable. So this will be 100 adverse. So when talking about the mix variance, we do calculate the standard mix. That is 1000 input should be in the ratio of 60:40. 1000 actual input in the ratio of 60:40. Therefore, we got 600 and 400 for X and Y. If you guys have any doubts in the mix variance, you guys can please post your queries. Anyone having any doubts? That is material mix variance. That is the work done by the engineer. Anyone? You guys can please post, because again, this part student makes lots of mistake while calculating material mix variance. So my actual input is 1000. It should be in the ratio of 60:40. Actual input 1000 should be in the ratio of 60:40. But my actual mix was 70:30. So 1000 in the ratio of 60:40, that is 600 and 400. And here it is 700 and 300 into the standard price, because we will not be taking actual price, because again, these are the various departments of the production manager. So we will not be taking the actual price, but we'll be taking the standard price only. No, Shoaib. Now, when talking about the overall quantity uses, we talks about the material yield variance. Now, material yield variance calculate करने के there are 2 to 3 ways, but I'm just teaching you guys the most easiest way. Herein, it talks about the quantity that is ultimately used. So herein, when talking about these 700, that is actual output, these actual output should be manufactured using overall 875 kgs of raw material. ये जो 700 units है output का, it should be manufactured using overall 875 kgs only. The work was supposed to be completed after using only 875 kgs. But to manufacture these 700 units, we actually consume 1000 kgs. That is, the work which was supposed to be completed in 875 kgs was actually completed in 1000 kgs. That is 125 kgs extra. 125 kgs extra we consume to manufacture our final product. Now, these 125 kgs extra can be X also, some proportion of X, some proportion of Y. So the point is price कौन सा लें? 5 or 4, or average price or weighted average price. So the best approach is used weighted average price. That is, see again, I repeat, 125 kgs can be of X also, Y also. So the point is which price we should take, 5 or 4 or 4.5 or weighted average price. So the best approach is what? Weighted average price. So when talking about weighted average price, it will be 525 into 5 plus 350 into 4. That is 4025 divided by 875. So weighted average standard price. So this will be 4025 divided by 875. So we will get 575 adverse. So 100 adverse plus 575 adverse, we will get 675 adverse. So again, As I said, usage variance, there are two parts, mix and yield. So mix is 100 adverse and yield is 575 adverse. So the total variance will be 675 adverse. So we can say material mix variance plus yield variance is material usage variance. If you guys have any doubts in material yield variance, you guys can please post your queries. Again, there are alternate ways to calculate yield variance, but yes, I'm discussing the most easiest way. That is, to manufacture 700 units, how much quantity we were supposed to use? 875. How much quantity we actually used? 1000 kgs. How much extra we used? 125 kgs. अब ये 125 kgs X भी हो सकता है, Y भी हो सकता है. So the point is, for this, which price we should take? We should take the weighted average price. If you guys have any doubts in this part, you guys can please post your queries. Thereafter, we will summarize what we have discussed till now. So waiting for your queries, guys. Further, very important, guys, I request you guys to please copy. Okay, just wait for some time. First, better post your queries. Whatever running in your mind, you guys can please post. Thereafter will sum up what we have discussed till now. Then I'll give you time to copy. Yes, Kiran, Swati, Akshara, Om Krishna Gupta, Shoaib, anyone having any doubts? Kiran Bala, any doubts? Mallu Jadal, Saish Navgare, Srinivas, Sunil Gangadev, Kavita, anyone having any doubts, guys? Shoaib, any doubts, my dear? Sri Srinivas, again I repeat, to manufacture these 700 units, we should have used 875. See, 875 में अगर आप 20% normal loss add करें, less करेंगे तो we will get 700. So to manufacture these 700 units, we should have used 875 kgs only. But to manufacture these 700 units, we actually consumed 1000 kgs. That is 125 kgs extra. So that's why first the quantity uses is much more than expected. So we call it as adverse for the company. So let's sum up what we have discussed. So this is the budgeted data given for every 80 units of output. And this is the actual data given for 700 units of output. We can't compare these figures because the output is not same. So in case of material, the basis of comparison is what? Output. In case of material, the basis of comparison is what? Output. So to compare, to calculate the variances, your output should be same. So herein we have prepared a revised standard that is for 60 kgs, 80 output. So for 700 output, how much? 525. Similarly for Y. So accordingly, we have prepared this revised standard. Now when talking about cost variance, very simple. Total kitna cost lagna chahiye tha? 4025. This is what my standard cost minus my actual cost. So to manufacture these 700 units, we should have incurred 4025. but the amount that is actually incurred is 4,300. So 275 extra we incurred, so we call it as adverse for the company. How come standard cost is calculated? Very simple. 525 into 5, 350 into 4. Minus the actual cost, that is 700 into 4 and 300 into 5. So this is also the way to calculate cost and material cost variance. So how come material cost variance is calculated? Standard quantity into standard price minus actual quantity into actual price. So this is the formula that is given in study material. That is standard quantity into standard price minus actual quantity into actual price. So how come this formula is derived? I hope you guys are thorough with this part. Swati, I have covered this part in material yield variance. As I said, that material yield variance can be calculated using various ways, but I find this the most easiest one. So don't want to discuss the other methods. Better है इस तरीके से आप calculate कर दीजिए. It is more than sufficient. In this, I have considered the normal loss also. Don't want to create confusion for everyone. So keep the thing simple. But yes, for your knowledge, I have considered the normal loss, but I don't want to discuss the alternate ways to calculate material yield variance. So this is how this formula is derived. That is standard quantity into standard price minus actual quantity into actual price. Further, there are two parts, that is price and usage. When talking about the price, it represents the work done by the purchase manager. So purchase manager was supposed to purchase at the rate 5, but he actually purchased at the rate 4. So he was supposed to purchase at standard price, but he actually purchased at actual price. Now here in standard quantity will not be taken because purchase manager is not at all concerned about how much quantity was supposed to be used. He is only concerned about the quantity that is actually purchased. So जब purchase हुआ होगा तभी use हुआ होगा. So very simple guys, 700 is the actual quantity that is purchased, so into actual quantity. So this is how this formula is derived. Standard price minus actual price into actual quantity. Similarly, for usage, again, it represents the work done by the production manager. That is how much quantity was supposed to be used. That is 525 was supposed to be used. That is standard quantity. Minus actually used is 700. Again, we'll be taking the standard price because if we take purchase actual price, इसमें purchase manager के काम का भी impact आ जाएगा. So this is not correct. So herein we'll be taking the standard price. So standard quantity minus actual quantity into standard price. Further, when talking about the mix variance, it talks about the work done by the engineer. His responsibility is to maintain the mix. So these 1000 inputs should be in the ratio of standard mix. But actually he disturbed the mix by using actual quantity. So minus actual quantity into standard price. Further, as I said, there are various ways to calculate yield variance. For your reference, I'm writing the formula also, standard quantity minus standard mix into standard price. But herein also you can directly calculate yield variance. Further, material price plus usage is cost and mix plus yield is usage variance. So this is how these formulas are derived. As I said, there are no formulas in standard costing. Try to memorize the concepts. Agar aap concepts memorize karenge, then no need to learn the formulas. Try to solve 5-6 questions using concept. Yes, initially you'll find it difficult to solve the question using concept. But trust me, after 4-5 questions, you'll find this chapter very interesting while applying the concept. Further, we can say, what we can see is that there is an overall loss made by the material department is 275, wherein the purchase manager did a great job. That is, he had made a profit of 400. But the production manager, there is a blunder done by the production manager. That is, in overall loss of 275, he is contributing 675 as loss. But his loss was subsided because of the work done by the purchase manager. So ultimately, where is the major problem in the system? That is the production manager. But company production manager को fire नहीं कर सकती because he is a senior person. Further, when production manager को company warning दे सकती है कि please check your subordinates. So what purchase manager will do? He'll check the subordinates, and ultimately, after detailed investigation, production manager figure out करता है कि see, here it is the problem. That is the ultimate production supervisor is the problem, because जो काम 875 kgs में खत्म होना चाहिए था उसके लिए 1000 kgs यूज किया. So there is a loss of 125 kgs. So we can say that ultimately the production supervisor is the culprit. We can say we can reward purchase manager, but this guy needs serious attention. Either he should be removed from the job, or he should be given the final warning that if it happens next time, then you will be fired. So we can say further that standard costing is just like a diagnostic system, wherein जैसे suppose आप लोग बीमार होते हैं, what you do? You go to the doctor. Doctor, what the doctor advised? That go for a blood test. Now, once the blood test report is out, what doctor see? That here is the problem and I need to fix it. So standard costing, all these variants are the detailed report that is given to the management to figure out that where is the problem, here is the problem. And accordingly, management will take corrective action against these problems. So it's just like a diagnostic report wherein the management is the doctor. He will check that here is the problem and accordingly they will fix it. If you guys have any doubts or queries in this part, you guys can please post your queries. Further, you can present the solution in the same way in the exams also. So whatever the queries you have, you guys can please post, giving you 5 to 7 minutes time to copy this explanation. Do write your detailed notes that what all you have learned in this part of standard costing. So giving you 5 to 7 minutes time. So please copy, and whatever the queries you have, you guys can please post. I request you guys to copy this explanation and along with write your comments that what you have learned in this variance, in this variance, in this variance, and in this variance. Good, Shoaib. Anyone else having any doubts? Swati, any doubts? Om Krishna Gupta. Again, as I said, don't try to memorize the formula. Better learn the concepts. Srinivas, any doubts? Kiran Bala, any doubts? Again, I repeat, don't try to memorize the formula. Just understand the logic behind these formulas. So well said, Om Krishna Gupta. Material cost variance like a diagnostic report wherein material price variance represents the work done by the purchase manager, usage by the production manager, mixed by the engineer, in yield by the production supervisor. Yes, well said, Om Krishna Gupta. So ultimately, kahan pe problem hai? The standard costing, these variances help us to figure out. And accordingly, the doctor, that is the management, will take corrective action on a particular point. I request you guys to please copy this explanation. Don't take the screenshot, but better write it in your notebook. This question can be a master chart for you while revising for the exams. Again, one more important point: if the budgeted output and actual output are same, if the budgeted output and actual output are same, no need to prepare revised standard. ये जो center में हमने table बनाया था, no need to prepare. This revised standard is to be prepared only when there is a difference in budgeted output and actual output. So this is all what about material variance. Now thereafter we'll be starting with labor variance. So let's take a break of 15 minutes. Thereafter we'll start with labor variance. Further, if the time permits, we'll discuss one or two questions on material and labor variances. So let's take a break of 15 minutes. I'll be back after 15 minutes with labor variance. Should I? Welcome back, guys. So we are done with material variances. So now let's start with the detailed investigation of labor department. Again, just like material, in labor also the basis of comparison is output. In labor also, the basis of comparison is output. Let's discuss this labor variance with the help of an example. Nancy Saxena, it's for the first time I'm getting your message. This is for the first time I've received your message. Now you can post the queries, Nancy. So now let's start with labor variance. So just like material, in case of labor also, the basis of comparison is output. So let's say the budgeted data is given. Let's say the budgeted data is given, wherein to manufacture 1 unit of a product, 3 types of labors are required. That is skilled, semi-skilled, and unskilled. Three types of labor are required: skilled, semi-skilled, and unskilled. Wherein 2 hours of skilled labor are required, 3 hours of semi-skilled are required, and 5 hours of unskilled are required. Further, when talking about the rate, the hourly rate for skilled is 5, for semi-skilled it is 3, and for unskilled it is 2. So total 10 hours are required. 10 hours are required to manufacture 1 unit of a particular product. When talking about the actual data, let's say my actual output was 5,000 units. And to manufacture these 5,000 units, my skilled labor work for 9,000 hours, semi-skilled work for 17,000 hours, and unskilled work for 30,000 hours. So in aggregate, 56,000 hours we actually use to manufacture 5,000 units. Further, when talking about the rate of wages, for skilled it was 7 rupees, for semi-skilled it was 2.75 rupees, and for unskilled it was 1.5 rupees. So when talking about the total cost, for skilled in aggregate we paid 63,000, for unskilled we paid 45,000, and 17,000 into 2.75, that is 46,750 we paid for semi-skilled. My total cost was 1,54,750. So we have the budgeted data and we have the actual data now. Now my first question is, are these two figures comparable? Yes or no? Waiting for your answers, guys. Are these two figures comparable? Yes or no? I've got answer from Swati. Okay, so Kavita Kulla, yes. Om Krishna Gupta, no. Okay, so Kavita, just waiting for your answer. How come these figures are comparable? Can you please post your answer? Why yes? Yes, Kavita. How come yes? Can you please post your answer? So, guys, these two figures are not comparable because this data is given for 1 unit of output and this data is given for 5,000 units of output. So these two figures are not comparable. We have to prepare revised standard. Again, the concept of labor is just similar to material. The concept of labor is just like material. Since these two figures are not comparable, so we have to make it comparable, wherein 1 unit, 2 hours. So for 5,000 units, how many hours? 10,000 hours. Similarly, the same way, 2 hours for 1 unit. So for 5,000 units, how much hours? 10,000 hours. 3 hours for 1 unit. So for 5,000 units, how much hours? 15,000. 1 unit, 5 hours. So for 5,000 units, total 25,000 hours. So this work was supposed to be completed in 50,000 hours. As far as the rate, we were supposed to pay at the rate 5, 3, and 2. And my total cost was supposed to be 50,000 for skilled. For semi-skilled, it was 45,000. And for unskilled, it is 50,000. So to manufacture these 5,000 units, the cost that was supposed to be incurred is 1,45,000. But yes, to manufacture these 5,000 units, we actually spent 1,54,750. Again, the concept of labor is just like material. Only the difference is the change in name. So herein, applying the same concepts what we have discussed, so herein to manufacture 5,000 units, the amount that was supposed to be incurred is 1,45,000, but the amount that is actually incurred is 154,750. That is 9,750 extra cost we incurred. We call it as adverse for the company. And this is what we call as in material. If this question is for material, it is material cost variance. So for labor, it is labor cost variance. So 10,000 hours at the rate 5 minus 9,000 hours at the rate 7. 15,000 hours at the rate 3 minus 17,000 hours at the rate 2.75. 25,000 hours at the rate 2 minus 30,000 at the rate 1.5. We will get the final total as 9,750. So just like material, we have calculated the labor cost variance. Now herein we used to calculate material price variance. But in case of labor, it will be labor rate variance, not price variance. So this will be labor rate variance. So the same way we were supposed to pay at the rate 5, we actually paid at the rate 7 into my actual hours, not the standard hours, but the actual hours. The same concept as what we discussed in material will be applying here at labor also. So for skilled, semi-skilled, and unskilled. So we were supposed to pay them at the rate 5. we actually paid at the rate 7 into 9,000. So this will be 18,000 adverse. This will be 4250 favorable because the actual cost is less than the budgeted cost for the 2 minus 1.5 into 30,000. So it will be 15,000 favorable. So this will be 1250 favorable. That is 19,250 favorable and 18,000 adverse. The total will be 1250 favorable. So again, the concepts are same. That is material price variance and labor rate variance. Now herein, we were calculating material usage variance. That is kitna use hona chahiye tha, kitna use kiya. So herein, in case of labor, it will be labor time variance. We call it as labor time or efficiency variance. Skilled, semi-skilled, and unskilled. So the work was the how much quantity we were supposed to use minus the actual quantity used into the standard price. So similarly, the work was supposed to be completed in 10,000 hours. The work was actually completed in 9,000 hours into the rate that is 5. Similarly, in the second way, the work was supposed to be completed in 15,000 hours, but we actually took 17,000 hours into my rate that is 3. For unskilled, again, the work was supposed to be completed in 25,000 hours. The work was actually completed in 30,000 hours into the rate that is 2. So this will be 5,000 favorable. This will be 6,000 adverse. And this will be 10,000 adverse. So net, it will be 11,000 adverse. This is 11,000 adverse and this is 1250 favorable. So net, it will be 9750 adverse. If you guys have any doubts till now, you guys can please post your query. Yes, Kavita. So the budgeted data and actual data were not comparable. So we have to prepare it revised. Sir Kiran Bala, sir, how should we proceed if the bifurcation of labor given in actual but not in standard? Everything will be given in the question. The point is you have to identify the difference. That's what it is. Now we are done with the time or efficiency variance again. Herein we were calculating material mix variance. So here it will be labor mix variance. Again, 56,000 are the total hours. It should be in the ratio of 2:3:5. 56,000 hours should be in the ratio of 2:3:5. So this will be 11,200. So 56,000 should be in the ratio of 11,200, 16,800, and 28,000. However, my actual mix was 9,000, 17,000, and 30,000. Again, we will multiply it with standard rate, that is 5, 3, and 2. So this will be 11,000 favorable. This will be 600 adverse. This will be 4,000 adverse. This will be 6,400 favorable. So again, I'm applying the same concepts what I have discussed in material variance. Now the next is labor yield, or we can say efficiency. If we are calling it as time, then this will be efficiency. Or we can call it as sub-efficiency also. Now, the same way, 5,000 units we were supposed to manufacture in 50,000 hours. 5,000 units we were supposed to manufacture in 50,000 hours. But yes, to manufacture these 5,000 units, we actually consume 56,000 hours. So 6,000 hours extra into the weighted average rate, that is 1,45,000 divided by 50,000. So just following the same steps what we have discussed in material variance. If you guys have any doubts or queries, you guys can please post your queries. So Kavita sir, how come 11,200? As I said, 56,000 should be in the ratio of 2:3:5. So 56,000 into 2 by 10. 56,000 into 3 by 10. So this will be 11,200. So this 56,000 should be in the ratio of 2:3:5. However, the actual ratio was 9:17:30. That's it. See herein, this is my standard mix. I am using, see, in study material, they are using some different terminologies in every question. So I am solving the question using a standard pattern. First thing is, write the budget, write the actual. I repeat again, guys, please do pay attention what I'm discussing. In study material, few questions are solved using some different patterns. Few questions are they have solved as per different pattern. So it's sometimes a bit confusing. So just to bring on the uniformity, guys, very simple, guys. I'm just following a standard procedure wherein this is my budget, this is my actual. Now, if the budget and actual are not comparable, that is just check their output. If the output is same, directly calculate the variance. If the output is not same, first prepare revised standard. So 2 hours, 1 unit, 5,000, 2 2 hours, 1 unit, 5,000 units, 10,000 hours. So this is what we call as standard hours. This is what we call as standard hours. So we have calculated the standard hour, standard rate and amount. So once this master chart is ready, you can easily calculate all the variance. So try to prepare this master chart in every question. You'll be able to solve any question. Swati, don't worry, I'll be taking idle hours also. Each and every point will be covered in detail, don't worry. So this is what my standard are. So once this master chart is ready, you can solve any questions of material and labor. Now when talking about this mix calculation, my actual input or actual hours should be in the ratio of standard mix, that is 2:3:5. So this is how I calculated 11,200, 16,800 and 28,000. Now again, let's frame the formula, how these formulas are prepared. So labor cost variance, that is the standard cost minus actual cost. How come standard cost is derived? Standard hours into standard rate minus actual hours into actual rate. Again, the rate variance the same as price, standard price minus actual price into actual quantity. So for rate, standard hours minus actual hours into, standard rate minus actual rate into actual hours. I'm also not used to formulas. I'm more into concept. So standard rate minus actual rate into actual hours. For time, again, standard quantity minus actual quantity into standard price. That is what we discussed in material. So for labor, standard hours minus actual hours into standard rate. Again, for mix, this is the standard mix we calculated. Standard mix minus actual mix is what? My actual hours into standard rate. And for labor yield, there is a formula, standard hours minus standard mix into standard rate. But you can solve in this way also. There are various ways to calculate yield variance, but this is the best approach. Akshara, hopefully this part is clear. Anyone else having any doubts? Akshara? Again, for 1 unit, see this data is given for every unit of output. One unit, 2 hours. So for 5,000 units, how many hours? 10,000 hours. 2 hours for 1 unit. So for 5,000 units, 10,000 hours. 3 hours, 1 unit. So for 5,000 units, 15,000 hours. 5 hours, 1 unit. So for 5,000 units, 25,000 hours. I'm just applying the concept of cross multiplication. That's it. Anyone else having any doubts in this part? You guys can please post your queries. Waiting for your queries, guys. Further, I request you guys to copy this explanation. Again, it will be very helpful for you while revising for the exams. So giving you 5 to 7 minutes time to copy this explanation. Kavita, the concepts are very simple. 1 unit take 2 hours. 1 unit बनाने में 2 घंटे लगते हैं. So for 5,000 units, how many hours? 10,000 hours. I'm just applying the principle of cross multiplication. Just think practically. 1 unit बनाने में 2 घंटे लगते हैं. 2 hours are required for 1 unit. So for 5,000 units, how many hours? 10,000 hours. Again, this exercise is not to be done if the budgeted output and actual output are same. Here, the budgeted output is 1 unit, actual output is 5,000 units. That's why we have prepared the revised standard as per 5,000 units. I request you guys, I'm again requesting you to please copy this explanation. Don't take the screenshot. What you will write, you will remember it forever. So no need to take screenshot. Just try to copy the concept part. Yes, practical questions while I'm solving, you can take the screenshot. But yes, when talking about the concepts, do write what I'm explaining. Last 2 minutes, guys. Please copy everything. Yes, it is 17,400 adverse, my dear. 6,000 hours are the difference. That is, the work was supposed to be completed in 50,000 hours, but we actually took 56,000 hours. So 6,000 hours extra into the weighted average rate because we have to explain the things in monetary terms. No worries, Srinivas, that's okay. But yes, do copy the screenshot. If the actual cost is more than the budgeted cost, we call it as adverse. And if the actual cost is less than the budgeted cost, or we can say standard cost, we call it as favorable. Akshara, I repeat again, if the actual cost is more, if the actual cost is more than budgeted cost, if the actual cost is more than budgeted cost, we call it as adverse. And if the actual cost is less than the budgeted cost or standard cost, we call it as favorable. 1 second, guys. Now let's take a situation. Now let's take a situation in the same question. If idle hours are also given. In the same question, let's say if idle hours are also given for skilled, semi-skilled, and unskilled. Let's say for skilled, 500 are my idle hours. For semi-skilled, it is 400, and for unskilled, it is 100. So total 1000 hours my idle hours. So the actual hours will differ. That is, this will be actual hours paid, and this will be actual hours worked. So 9000 hours the hour paid. Of this, 500 is idle hours. So actual hours worked will be 8500. Again, 17,000 are the actual hours paid. Minus 400 are my idle hours. So 16,600 hours will be my actual hours worked. Again, 30,000 are the actual hours paid. Minus 100 is idle time. So 29,900 will be actual hours worked. So this will be 55,000. So always remember, when the idle hours are given, the actual idle hours are given. So hours paid minus idle hours will be actual hours worked. Now, what will be the solution in this case? Yes, Akshara, we have to do it separately for skilled, semi-skilled, and unskilled. Now let's start with the solution. If it is the same question with idle hours also given, is there any change in labor cost variance? No, the labor cost variance will remain unchanged. So labor cost variance will remain unchanged. So 1,45,000 is my standard cost minus actual cost is 154,750. So this will be 9750 adverse. Again, there will be no change in labor rate variance. Again, it will be the same. There will be no change in labor rate variance. That is 5, the standard rate, minus 7, the actual rate, into actual hours paid, that is 9,000. So this will be 18. See herein, I think Akshara, see herein, we were supposed to pay 5, we actually paid 7. So 2 rupees extra cost. My actual cost is more than standard cost. So that's why this will be adverse. So herein 3 minus 2.75 into 17,000. So herein my actual cost is less than standard cost. So this will be favorable. That is 4250 favorable. In the third case, 2 minus 1.5 into 30,000. Again, my actual cost is less than standard cost. So this will again be favorable. That is 15,000 favorable. So 1250 favorable. Now, guys, very important. If idle hours are given, either we can calculate the idle time variance here, or we can calculate it here also. That is at the later stage. So herein you can use any of the approaches. Herein I am ignoring the idle time variance. Here I will be considering at this level. So herein there will be no change in labor time variance also. So labor time oblique efficiency variance. So the same way skilled, there will be again no change, skilled, semi-skilled and unskilled. There will be no change. The work was supposed to be completed in 10,000 hours, but we took 9,000 hours into 5. So this will be 5,000 favorable. Again 15,000 minus 17,000 into 3. So this will be 6,000 adverse. 25,000 minus 30,000 into 2. So this will be 10,000 adverse. So net, it will be 11,000 adverse. So till time or efficiency variance. So you are asking about 1250. See, the total favorable is 19,250. And adverse is 18,000. So net it will be how much? 1250. In short, 19,250 is plus and 18,000 is minus. So net plus will be 1250. Now, herein we'll consider idle time variance now. So idle hours are 500, 400 and 100 for skilled, semi-skilled and unskilled into the standard rate, that is 5, 3 and 2. So this will be 2,500 adverse. See, these idle hours are a loss to the company, so it will always be adverse. So 5 5 is 25, 2,500 adverse. This will be 1,200 adverse and this will be 200 adverse. So this will be 3,900 adverse. Now guys, very important. See, there was a difference of 50,000 to 56,000 hours. It means total there was a difference of 6,000 hours. Of this, the difference of 1,000 hours was due to idle time. There was an overall difference of 50 to 56, that is 6,000 hours. Of this, 1,000 hour is idle time. So remaining we are left out with a difference of 5,000 only. 50 से 56 था, उसमें से 1,000 hours we have already considered in idle time variance. So we are left out with a difference of only 5,000 hours. Further we can say, let's say there was a difference of 25 to 30, that is 5,000 hours. When talking about unskilled, there was a difference of 5,000 hours. Of this, 100 is already considered here. So here in the difference we will be left out with what? 25,000 and 29,900 hours. So in short, after removing the effect of idle time, we'll be left out with actual hours worked. So very important guys, labor mix and labor yield variance will be calculated as per actual hour worked. Paid or work के बीच में जो difference था idle hours, that I have already considered separately in idle time variance. So now we are left out with the difference of revised standard and actual hours worked. So labor mixed variance will be how much? So instead of 56, now 55,000 we will consider. So this 55,000 should be in the ratio of 2:3:5. 55,000 should be in the ratio of 2:3:5. That is this 55,000 should be in the ratio of 2:3:5. However, the actual ratio was 8,500, 16,600 and 29,900. into the rate that is 5, 3, and 2. So 11,000 minus 8,500 into 5. So this will be 12,500 favorable. So 500 minus 600, this will be 300 adverse. This will be 4,800 adverse. So this will be 7,400 favorable. Now, when talking about the labor yield, or we can say sub-efficiency, or we can say efficiency. Again, the same way. These 5,000 units were supposed to be manufactured in 50,000 hours. But yes, these 5,000 units were manufactured in 55,000 hours. 1,000 idle hours are already considered here. So now we are left out with a difference of only 5,000 hours into the weighted average rate. So yield variance 14,500. Idle time variance 3,900 adverse minus 7,400, that is favorable, will get the total. So as I said, rate and time is cost, idle time, labor mix, and labor yield will be time variance or efficiency variance. So Swati, I hope you are thorough with the concept of this idle time variance. Further, instead of this, we can place the idle time variance here. But if we place the idle time variance here, then the time variance will be calculated using these two figures. अगर idle time हम लोग second stage पे consider कर देते हैं, then time variance or efficiency variance will be calculated using actual hours worked rather than actual hours paid. अगर 1,000 hours का difference हमने second stage पे consider कर लिया, then the remaining, that is the time variance, will be calculated using actual hours worked rather than actual hours paid. That's it. I request you guys to please copy this explanation. Again, do try to copy it. Assuming idle hours are given in the question, Mr. Mallu. I'm sharing the screen, the question for your reference, so you guys can take the screenshot. If in case the idle hours are not given and if in case the idle hours are given, so this is the question, so you guys can refer this question. I request you guys to please take the screenshot. So let's summarize what we have discussed in today's session. The first one is material cost variance. That is what we discussed, wherein the standard quantity into standard price minus actual quantity into actual price. Material price variance, that is standard price minus actual price into actual quantity. And material usage variance, that is standard quantity minus actual quantity into standard price. Further, material mix variance, standard mix minus actual quantity into standard price. And material yield variance, standard quantity minus standard mix into standard price. Yield plus mix is usage plus price is cost. Further, when talking about the labor also, labor cost variance, standard hours into standard rate minus actual hours into actual rate. Labor rate variance, standard rate minus actual rate into actual hours. Time variance, it is standard hours minus actual hours into standard rate. Labor mix variance, that is standard mix minus actual hours into standard rate. Labor yield variance, that is standard hours minus standard mix into standard rate. Again, mix plus yield will be time plus rate will be cost. So this is all what the summary of what we have discussed till now. If you guys have any doubts in the conceptual part, how come these formulas are derived? See, I'm just writing the formulas for your reference. But as I said that there are no formulas in cost accounting. So the point is, instead of memorizing the formula, better try to remember or learn the concepts. Once you are thorough with the concepts, you can solve any question, be it missing figure question or be it, the change in, if there is any change in pattern of question also. Trust me, guys, if you are thorough with the concept, you will be able to solve any questions of standard costing. But yes, if you feel like, if you are memorizing the formula, thoda sa bhi pattern se hatke question aaya, trust me guys, you won't be able to. So if the question is on a standard pattern, you can solve by applying formula. But yes, if the question is on the trickier side, or we can say if it is a missing figure question, trust me, you won't be able to apply formula. Then you will say that, oh, if I would have learned the concepts, I would have been able to solve. So stick to the concepts. Try to solve 2-3 questions using concept. Trust me, guys, thereafter you'll be able to solve any questions. I mean, each and every question on your own. So whatever the queries you have, you guys can please post your query. Further, try to practice. See, I'll tell you the way how to approach. See, the questions what I have discussed, I have to discuss 2 questions, one on material and one on labor. See, till date, if you are solving the question using formula, just forget it. Try to apply the concept. If you are not being able to solve the question in one go, then again revise it and try to solve it again. The same question, try to solve it once, twice, thrice. Once you are done with this question, then start the questions of study material. Start from the easiest question of study material and then proceed for the missing figure question. Trust me, guys, if you follow these steps, you will be the master of standard costing. So again, I say, don't try to memorize the formula. Try to memorize the concept. Initially, you will find it bit difficult to apply the concept. But yes, once you are done with 4 to 5 questions, trust me, you'll find it more interesting and more easy while solving the questions. So anyways, I request you guys to please copy the summary. If you guys have any doubts till now, you guys can please post. Dharmik, Adya, I think you have recently joined. If you have any queries, you guys can please post your query. Admin sir, are you there? Admin sir, are you there? Unmute कर सकते हैं क्या students को? So please unmute everyone. If anyone have any queries, then you guys can please ask your queries. Yes, anyone, I think you guys can ask me the queries directly. I'm done with the explanation. So guys, try to solve all the questions of study material. Initially, I'll suggest you only to solve the questions of study material. In the next session, I'll be discussing the concepts of fixed overhead and variable overhead. In fact, we will be investigating fixed and variable overhead department in, I think, the first hour. And then remaining in 1.5 hours, we'll try to cover a few questions of study material. Or if you find any difficulty in any question, you guys can please post the question. I'll try to address all your queries in the coming session of material and labor. So till then, I request you guys to solve all the questions of study material and, or if the time permits, of the past practice manual relating to material and labor variances. So once we are done with the explanation of fixed and variable overhead variance, then we will discuss few of your doubts and we'll discuss few more practical questions. So thank you so much, guys, for your time and patience. Do actively participate in the session. The few students are there who are active in the session. Rest all, I think there are many who are sleeping. So anyways, do actively participate in the session. Whatever the queries you have, you guys can post. Whatever the doubts you have relating to standard costing in material and labor variances, I'll be addressing your queries in the next session. Thank you, guys. Have a great day. Admin sir, I'm done.